Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you to speak about a topic that is often felt but seldom addressed: the plight of an unloved woman. It is a subject that carries deep emotional resonance, reflecting not just the personal struggles of one, but a broader societal narrative. An unloved woman is not simply someone without affection. She is often a symbol of overlooked potential, ignored brilliance, and quiet strength misunderstood. To be unloved does not mean one is unworthy of love. Yet too often, society equates a lack of external validation with a lack of value. This perception weighs heavily on women, who are often conditioned to believe that their worth is tied to the love they receive from others, be it from family, friends, or romantic partners. When this love is absent, they are left questioning their place in the world. The absence of love does not define the worth of an individual, and yet how often do we allow the world's indifference to whisper otherwise? A woman, standing in the silence of unacknowledged existence, begins to question her place, not because she lacks anything within herself, but because the world has failed to reflect her beauty back to her. Yet the mirror of the world is fickle and unreliable. True worth, true value, is never dependent on the fleeting opinions or affections of others. It exists as an eternal truth within, waiting for recognition. The unloved woman is not unworthy. Her worth was never in question, though she may have believed it was. This is the great illusion the world projects, convincing her that validation must come from outside herself. But what is outside? It is nothing more than the reflection of her inner state. The feelings of inadequacy she has absorbed from the world do not originate with her. They are merely the echoes of a society blind to its own shortcomings, projecting its blindness onto her. To awaken from this illusion is to reclaim the truth: her worth is innate, unshaken by the world's inability to see it. In this awakening, she begins to understand that love is not something to be begged for or earned. It is her birthright. The love she seeks is not outside her, waiting to be bestowed. It is within her, waiting to be acknowledged. The absence she feels is not the absence of love, but the absence of awareness of love's presence within. Imagine for a moment that this woman stands alone, surrounded by the silence of her perceived isolation. The world has turned its face away, and yet in this stillness she begins to hear a deeper voice, one that has always been there, whispering, "You are enough." This voice is quiet, almost imperceptible at first, because it has been drowned out by the noise of the world. But as she listens, it grows louder, stronger, until it becomes a song she cannot ignore. This is the voice of her true self, the part of her that knows she was created in love and for love. It does not matter that others have failed to see her light shines regardless. It does not matter that others have withheld their affection, her capacity to love herself, and the world remains untouched. This realization does not come from defiance or bitterness, but from a profound understanding that love is her essence. When she begins to see herself through this lens, the world shifts. It cannot help but do so, because the world is merely a reflection of her state of being. As she embraces her intrinsic worth, as she moves through life with the quiet confidence of one who knows she is enough, the world begins to reflect this truth back to her. Those who once overlooked her now see her. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach present themselves. Love, which once felt distant, flows to her freely, not because she has changed who she is, but because she has remembered who she has always been. This is not magic, though it feels miraculous. It is the natural law of being. The world can only mirror what is within. For the unloved woman, the journey begins not with demanding love from others, but with cultivating it within herself. She must learn to see herself as the infinite sees her, whole, radiant, and complete. This shift in perception is the key that unlocks the doors she once believed were closed. In this journey, there is no need for bitterness or resentment toward those who failed to love her. Their inability to see her worth was never about her. It was a reflection of their own blindness. Forgiveness becomes easy when she realizes that their actions were rooted in ignorance, not truth. She can release the weight of their judgments and embrace the freedom that comes with knowing she is not defined by them. Her life becomes a testament to the power of inner transformation, The unloved woman, once burdened by the world's indifference, becomes a beacon of light for others. Her journey is not just her own, it is a gift to all who witness it. She shows that love is not something to be found, but something to be remembered. It is the essence of who we are, and it is always waiting to be claimed. In this realization, there is no room for despair, for the truth of her worth is eternal. She no longer seeks love as though it were something outside her grasp. Instead, she becomes love itself, radiating it in every thought, word, and action. And in doing so, she transforms not only her own life, but the lives of all who come into contact with her. For love, once awakened, cannot be contained. It overflows, touching everything in its path and creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond what the eye can see. Thus, the unloved woman is unloved no longer, not because the world has changed, but because she has. In embracing her true self, she discovers that love was never absent, it was simply waiting for her to see it. The strength that arises from solitude is not the absence of pain, but the transformation of it. When a woman finds herself in the void of unacknowledged affection, the world may label her as lacking, as incomplete, but in truth, she is on the precipice of discovering a power within that few ever dare to touch. Solitude is not a punishment, though it often feels like one. It is an invitation. It calls her inward, away from the distractions of external validation, to a place where she can confront the truth of her being. In the silence of being unseen, she begins to feel the stirrings of something deeper. At first, it may feel like a faint whisper, barely audible beneath the weight of her longing. But as she listens, as she turns her attention inward, that whisper grows. It is the voice of her true self, the part of her that has always been whole, always been complete. This voice does not beg for attention, it does not seek approval. It simply is. The journey of the unloved woman is not one of finding love from others, but of uncovering the reservoir of love that has always existed within. The world teaches her to seek outside herself, to measure her worth by the affection she receives, by the roles she fulfills, by the opinions of others. But this teaching is flawed, for it denies her the truth of her divinity. She is not an empty vessel waiting to be filled, she is a source, a wellspring of infinite love and power. As she turns inward, she begins to see the lie for what it is. The absence of external love is not a reflection of her value, but a reflection of the blindness of those around her. She begins to understand that their inability to see her worth does not diminish it. Her value is intrinsic, unchanging, and eternal. The love she has sought from others is but a shadow of the love that already exists within her. She transforms. The solitude that once felt like a prison becomes a sanctuary. She learns to sit with herself, to embrace her own company, to revel in the beauty of her own existence. She no longer waits for the world to validate her, for she has found validation in the depths of her own being. She no longer seeks approval, for she knows she is enough. This transformation is not loud or dramatic, it is quiet, like the breaking of dawn. It begins with a shift in perception, a turning inward, a willingness to face the parts of herself she once sought to hide. In the process, she discovers that the very things she thought made her unworthy are the sources of her greatest strength. Her scars, her pain, her struggles, these are not flaws but testaments to her resilience, her capacity to endure, her ability to rise. The strength she finds in solitude is not the kind that demands recognition, it is the kind that simply exists, steady and unshakable. It is the strength of a mountain, standing firm against the winds of judgment and rejection. It is the strength of a river, flowing with grace and purpose, carving its path through the obstacles in its way. It is the strength of a flame, burning brightly even in the darkest of nights. And as she embraces this strength, something remarkable happens. The world, which once seemed indifferent, begins to shift. The energy she radiates, born of self-love and self-acceptance, draws others to her. People who once overlooked her now see her. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach now present themselves. Love, which once felt distant, now flows freely to her, not because she has changed who she is, but because she has remembered who she has always been. This is the paradox of the unloved woman's journey in letting go of the need for external love. She becomes a magnet for it. In embracing her solitude, she finds connection. In releasing her longing, she discovers fulfillment. Her life becomes a testament to the truth that love begins within. Her transformation is not just for herself. It is a gift to the world. The strength she embodies, the love she radiates, the resilience she exudes, all of these inspire those around her. She becomes a beacon, a reminder that worth is not given but recognized, that love is not earned but remembered, that strength is not found but revealed. There is a lesson for us all. We live in a world that often overlooks, undervalues, and misunderstands. But the story of the unloved woman reminds us that worth is never determined by the perceptions of others. It is an eternal truth waiting to be claimed. And when we claim it, when we embrace our solitude and discover the strength within, we do not just transform ourselves, we transform the world. For in the end, the journey of the unloved woman is the journey of all humanity, a journey of returning to the truth of who we are, of remembering our intrinsic worth, and of discovering the boundless love that exists within. The universal need for love is not merely a longing for affection or companionship, it is an inherent truth woven into the fabric of existence. To love and be loved is the essence of life itself, yet many find themselves disconnected from this flow, believing they are unworthy of the very thing that defines them. But the need for love is not a weakness, nor is its absence a reflection of failure. It is a call, a quiet, persistent call to return to the awareness of love's presence within and all around. Consider the unloved woman, walking through life as if unseen, unheard, untouched by the tenderness she craves. Her heart yearns not just for romance or grand gestures, but for connection, for recognition, for the simple yet profound understanding that she matters. This yearning is not a flaw, it is the echo of something eternal. It is a reminder that love is the foundation of all things, the force that binds the stars in the heavens and the hearts of humanity. The world often teaches her to suppress this yearning, to silence her need for love in the name of strength or independence. She learns to carry her solitude like armor, convincing herself that she does not need what her soul cries out for. But this denial only deepens the wound, for the need for love cannot be extinguished. It is as essential as air, as water, as light. To deny it is to deny life itself. In this denial, she begins to feel disconnected not just from others, but from herself. For the love she seeks is not something external, waiting to be given. It is a reflection of the love that already exists within her. The ache she feels is not the absence of love, but the absence of recognition. She has forgotten that she is love. She has forgotten that the need for love is not a weakness, but a doorway, a path back to the truth of her being. To awaken to this truth is to transform the very nature of her longing. The unloved woman begins to see that her need for love is not a void to be filled, but a gift to be embraced. It is an invitation to return to herself, to reconnect with the infinite source of love that resides within. As she accepts this invitation, she discovers that she is not lacking, she is overflowing. She is not incomplete, she is whole. This realization changes everything. The connections she once sought from others begin to flow naturally, effortlessly. She no longer seeks validation, for she has found it within. She no longer begs for affection, for she has become a wellspring of love. The energy she radiates draws people to her, not out of pity or obligation, but out of genuine recognition. They see in her what they long to see in themselves, a reflection of love's true nature. The world begins to mirror her transformation. Relationships deepen, not because she demands more, but because she brings more of herself to them. Opportunities arise, not because she chases them, but because she aligns with the flow of life. The unloved woman, once defined by her longing, becomes defined by her presence. She becomes a living embodiment of love's power to heal, to connect, to create. This transformation is not just for her. The love she discovers within herself ripples outward, touching everyone she meets. Her journey becomes a reminder to others that love is not something to be earned, but something to be remembered. It is not a transaction, but a state of being. It is not a destination, but a homecoming. The need for love, then, is not a weakness or a flaw. It is a sacred calling. It is the soul's way of guiding us back to the truth of who we are. It is a reminder that we are not separate from love, but expressions of it. When the unloved woman answers this call, she not only transforms her own life, but also helps to transform the world. For love, once awakened, cannot be contained. It flows freely, touching everything in its path. It heals wounds, bridges divides, and creates beauty where there was once pain. The unloved woman, in embracing her need for love, becomes a beacon of this truth. She shows us that to love and be loved is not a luxury but a necessity. It is the essence of life itself. Her story is not one of despair but of hope. It is a testament to the power of love to heal, to transform, and to unite. It reminds us all that the need for love is not something to be denied or suppressed, but something to be celebrated. It is the thread that connects us, the force that sustains us, the truth that defines us. In recognizing this truth, we are reminded of our own capacity to love and be loved. We see that the unloved woman is not truly unloved, for she carries within her the same infinite love that resides in us all. Her journey is our journey, her transformation our transformation. And in her awakening, we are awakened to the profound and beautiful truth that we are and have always been love. Society often fails to see the true worth of an individual, particularly a woman who feels unloved and overlooked. This failure, however, is not a reflection of her value, but of the world's blindness to what truly matters. The unloved woman is not unseen because she lacks beauty, strength, or significance. She is unseen because society has not yet awakened to the fullness of her existence. Yet her worth is eternal, unchanging, and independent of external recognition. To find peace, she must transcend the world's narrow vision and embrace the truth of her intrinsic value. The collective eyes of the world are easily distracted by appearances, by roles, by fleeting measures of success. It categorizes people, assigning worth based on superficial judgments that are neither consistent nor fair. This distorted perception creates an environment where many women feel unseen, undervalued, or forgotten. The world's inability to honor her worth does not diminish it, it only masks it, like clouds obscuring the brilliance of the sun. But the sun remains unchanged in its radiance, even when the world fails to notice it. The journey of the unloved woman is not to convince the world of her worth, but to awaken to it herself. She must see that she is not dependent on the approval of others, for her value comes from within. The world cannot give her what she already possesses, it can only mirror back what she has claimed for herself. When she shifts her focus from seeking validation to embodying her truth, she transforms not only her perception but the way the world perceives her. This shift is not one of arrogance or defiance, but of quiet confidence. It is the recognition that her existence is enough, that she is enough. She is not defined by her circumstances or by how others treat her. She is defined by the essence of who she is, a being of infinite worth and potential. The world may not see it, but she must. For when she sees it, the world will follow. Imagine her standing in the midst of a crowd, unnoticed, unacknowledged, as though she were invisible. She could despair, believing that her invisibility is a sign of her insignificance. Or she could close her eyes, turn inward, and see the light that burns brightly within her. This light is not dependent on anyone else's recognition. It exists simply because she exists. And as she becomes aware of it, it grows, shining so brightly that it cannot be ignored. The world begins to take notice, not because she demands attention, but because her presence is undeniable. She moves through life with a quiet strength, a grace that comes from knowing who she is. She no longer seeks to prove herself, for she understands that her worth is not up for debate. She lives in alignment with her truth, and in doing so, she inspires others to do the same. This is the power of recognizing one's worth. It creates a ripple effect. The unloved woman, once overlooked, becomes a mirror for others. She reflects their own value back to them, showing them what is possible when one steps into the fullness of their being. Her journey is not just her own, it is a gift to the world. It is a reminder that worth is not given but recognized, not earned but claimed. Society's failure to see her value is not her burden to bear. It is a reflection of its own limitations, its inability to look beyond the surface. But she is not limited by the world's blindness. She is free to see herself as she truly is, whole, radiant, and complete. And as she embraces this truth, she helps to shift the collective perception. For when one person awakens to their worth, it creates a pathway for others to do the same. The unloved woman, in reclaiming her value, becomes a catalyst for change. She challenges the world to see differently, to honor the intrinsic worth of every individual, regardless of external circumstances. Her story becomes a testament to the power of self-awareness, a beacon of hope for those who feel unseen. This transformation does not require her to change who she is. She does not need to become louder, bolder, or more visible. She simply needs to be herself, fully and unapologetically. Her worth is not in what she does, but in who she is. It is not in how others perceive her, but in how she perceives herself. And as she steps into this awareness, the world begins to shift. Relationships deepen, opportunities arise, and love flows freely, not because she has sought them, but because she has aligned with the truth of her being. The unloved woman, once overlooked, becomes a force of nature, a living reminder that worth is not bestowed by the world but claimed from within. Her journey is not just a personal one, it is universal. It speaks to the soul of every individual who has ever felt unseen or undervalued. It reminds us all that our worth is not determined by external recognition, but by the truth of who we are. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to see with the eyes of the heart, and to honor the infinite value in ourselves and others. The unloved woman is not unloved at all. She is love, she is light, she is the embodiment of infinite worth. Her journey is a return to this truth, a reclaiming of the power that has always been hers. And in her awakening, she offers a gift to the world, the reminder that we are all worthy, we are all seen, and we are all loved. Life often places individuals in roles they never expected, spaces that feel barren and void of affirmation. For the unloved woman, her path may seem especially harsh, a relentless reminder of perceived isolation and inadequacy. Yet these moments of rejection, these feelings of being unseen and unworthy, hold within them a transformative power that transcends the external circumstances. They are not punishments but opportunities for a profound awakening, for discovering that love is not something sought but something claimed. Rejection from the world is often mistaken as a verdict, a final judgment of value. It feels personal, as though every dismissal, every cold glance, is aimed at confirming her deepest fears. But rejection is not personal. It is a reflection of others' limitations, not her own. It is a doorway, a chance to step out of the illusion that her worth is tied to the opinions of others, and into the truth that her worth is eternal, untouched by the world's blindness. The power within her is not diminished by the absence of recognition. The world may not applaud her, may not see her light, but her light remains. It burns quietly, waiting for her to notice it. She has the power to transform her experience, not by changing the external, but by changing her perception of herself. Her reality will always mirror her inner belief. If she believes she is unworthy, the world will reflect that belief back to her. But if she believes in her inherent value, the world will rise to meet her with love and affirmation. Transformation begins when she no longer seeks external validation. The desire to be loved, to be seen, to be acknowledged is natural, but it becomes a chain when tied to the approval of others. True freedom comes when she realizes that the love she desires is already within her. She is not waiting for someone to fill her cup. Her cup overflows when she connects with the infinite source of love that resides in her. This connection is not found in striving or in doing, but in being. She need not prove her worth, for it was never in question. The acts of proving, of grasping for recognition, only take her further from herself. Instead, she must return to the quiet center within, where her value is self-evident. It is in this place that she finds peace, a peace that transcends the world's chaos, a peace that no rejection can touch. As she awakens to this truth, her entire experience begins to shift. The power within her is not silent, it speaks to the world in ways she cannot yet understand. Her very presence begins to command attention, not through force, but through the quiet assurance of one who knows their worth. The energy she carries becomes magnetic, drawing to her the love, the opportunities, the recognition she once sought. But now, these things do not define her, they are merely reflections of what she has already claimed within herself. Her journey is not solitary. Every step she takes towards self-realization ripples outward, touching the lives of those around her. The love she finds within herself does not remain confined, it overflows, spilling into her relationships, her work, her community. She becomes a beacon, a reminder to others that worth is not earned but discovered. The world begins to change, not because she demanded it, but because she changed herself. This transformation is not a rejection of others, but an embracing of herself. It is not about closing herself off, but about opening herself up to the infinite. The power of love is not limited, it expands as it is shared. By claiming her worth, she does not take from others, she gives. She shows them what is possible, what they too can claim for themselves. Her journey becomes a path for others to follow. The beauty of this awakening is that it does not require perfect circumstances. The world may still misunderstand her, may still fail to see her fully. But this does not matter, for she sees herself. She does not wait for the world's permission to love herself, to honor herself, to live fully. She knows that her value is intrinsic, her power limitless, her love eternal. This realization does not shield her from life's challenges, but it changes the way she meets them. Rejection no longer wounds her, for she no longer looks to others to define her. Loneliness no longer consumes her, for she has found a constant companion within. Her life becomes an expression of love, not a search for it, and in this expression she finds fulfillment, joy, and peace. The unloved woman's journey is a story of triumph, not over others but over the illusions that once held her captive. She does not need to fight for her worth, she simply needs to remember it. In remembering, she transforms her life, and in turn, the lives of those around her. Her story is a reminder to all of us. We live in a world that often fails to see us, that overlooks our light and dismisses our worth. But the world's vision is not our truth. The power to transform lies within us, waiting to be claimed. We are not defined by rejection, by loneliness, or by the world's blindness. We are defined by the love that flows through us, the love that we are. Her journey is our journey. Her awakening is our awakening. Her triumph is a call to remember who we truly are, beings of infinite worth, of boundless love, of unshakable power. In her story, we see the possibility of our own transformation, the promise of our own light, the truth of our own divinity. The journey of the unloved woman is, at its core, a journey of self-discovery, a process in which she learns not only who she is, but who she has always been. It is easy to be swept away in the noise of the world, believing that love, validation, and recognition must come from external sources. But the truth is that all love, all fulfillment, begins within. The unloved woman, though she may feel lost in her pain and longing, holds within her the key to her transformation. She is not truly unloved, she is simply disconnected from the deep, eternal love that has always been her birthright. The first step in her journey is the realization that she does not need to seek love outside of herself. The world's love is fleeting, conditional, and often tainted by the ego's limitations. What she truly craves, though, is the unconditional love that flows from the very essence of her being. It is a love that cannot be taken away, a love that does not depend on others' approval or affection. It is the love that resides deep within her, always available and ever present, waiting for her to recognize it. As she turns inward, she begins to realize that the feeling of being unloved is not a reflection of reality, but a reflection of her current state of awareness. It is a misconception that love must be sought from others. In truth, love is not something that can be found, it is something that must be recognized. And once she sees that love resides within her, her life begins to change. No longer does she look outside herself for validation, she feels validated in the very core of her being. She understands that the power to love and be loved has always been in her hands. This awareness shifts everything. No longer bound by the need for approval, she begins to express herself freely, without fear of rejection. The external world mirrors this change, as those around her start to see her for who she truly is: radiant, complete, and full of love. Her worth is not tied to how others perceive her. Her worth is intrinsic, always shining from within. As she embodies this truth, she becomes magnetic, attracting to her relationships and opportunities that align with her newly recognized value. The unloved woman's journey is not one of striving or seeking. It is a journey of remembering. She remembers that she is worthy, that she is loved, that she is loved. It is not something she must earn or prove. It is not something she must chase or attain. Love is her natural state, and the more she aligns with this truth, the more her life reflects it. This realization frees her from the struggle to fit into the molds that society has created for her. No longer does she seek to conform or to gain approval. She simply is, and in her being she finds everything she ever needed. Her transformation is not just internal. It is reflected in every aspect of her life. As she becomes more attuned to the love within, her relationships deepen and grow. She no longer seeks to please others or to win their affection. Instead, she offers her love freely, knowing that it will be received by those who are meant to receive it. Her worth is no longer in question, and as a result, the people around her begin to treat her with the respect, affection, and admiration she once sought to earn. At the heart of her journey is the understanding that love is not a commodity to be exchanged, but an essence to be expressed. Love does not need to be earned, it simply needs to be recognized. The unloved woman, in recognizing her inherent value, becomes a conduit for the flow of love. She no longer waits for the world to give her what she needs. She gives it to herself, and in doing so, she attracts the love, joy, and fulfillment she once believed were outside her reach. As her journey unfolds, she begins to see that she is not alone. The universe itself conspires to support her, to reflect back the love and worth she has discovered within herself. She sees that she has always been surrounded by love, but she was simply not aware of it. The people she once felt distant from begin to show up for her in ways she never expected. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach now flow to her effortlessly. Her life becomes a testament to the power of self-love and self-recognition. The unloved woman realizes that she was never truly unloved. Her journey was not about finding love, but about rediscovering it within herself. And as she does, she becomes a living embodiment of that love, sharing it freely with the world. Her story is not one of longing or lack, but of awakening to the truth that love is always present, always available, and always within. Her journey becomes a light for others to follow, a reminder that love is not something to be sought, but something to be recognized. It is the essence of who we are, and it is always available to us when we are ready to see it. The unloved woman, in reclaiming her worth, shows us all the power we hold within to transform our lives, to create the love and joy we desire, and to live in alignment with our truest selves. The journey of the unloved woman is a profound reminder of the power of self-awareness and self-love. While the world may fail to see her worth, her true value has always resided within her. It is not the approval or validation from others that defines her, it is her recognition of her intrinsic worth. As she awakens to the truth that love is not something to be sought, but something to be recognized and embraced from within, her entire reality begins to transform. She finds that her life reflects the love, respect, and fulfillment she has always deserved, not because it was given to her by others, but because she finally recognized her own deservingness. The unloved woman is never truly unloved, she is simply disconnected from the wellspring of love that exists within her. Once she remembers and accepts her worth, she becomes a magnet for the love and opportunities that were always available to her. Her journey is one of reclamation, of returning to the truth of who she is and embracing her divinity. In doing so, she not only transforms her own life but also becomes a beacon of hope and inspiration for others who may be on a similar path. Her journey is a powerful lesson for all that love, validation, and fulfillment come not from external sources, but from the inner recognition of one's inherent value. When we awaken to the love within us, we begin to see the world differently. We no longer seek to be seen or loved by others. Instead, we recognize that we are always worthy of love, and we carry that love with us wherever we go. The Unloved Woman's transformation is a beautiful testament to the boundless power of self-love and the immense potential that lies within us all when we choose to remember our true worth.